Another find at a recent Hamfest. Lots of broken equipment at this one, which is really good. I managed to pick up a bunch of assorted test equipment, radios, etc. This particular one, a Yaesu FT901DM I got, is dead. I checked the fuse. The fuse is blown, so we've got a problem. So I guess we'll open it up and try to find out what's wrong with this one. Here's the bottom of the unit. Power transformer. I don't see any visible problems. Well, at least not yet. One thing I like about these Yaesus is the boards are on these edge connectors, so you can use a extender card, pull the board out of the unit, and take measurements. That way, if you have to remove parts or solder, it's easier to do it. You can take it over to the bench, which I like. Memory unit. The cover on the bottom for this memory unit was gone. I don't know why. Maybe we'll find out later. Now I'll turn it over on the top. Here's a view of the top of the unit. They got those nice little overlays here that show the different functions and measurement points, which is nice. Here's the display unit. All the controls seem to be in good shape. Physically, it's in not too bad a shape. Like I say, it blows a fuse, the main fuse, but that could be a number of things. We'll address that in a minute. So, anyway, that will be the next step. I replaced the fuse, primary fuse, which is a 5 amp fuse, and I've connected the device through a dim bulb tester, 60 watt bulb, which will limit the current to about half an amp. So I'm going to hit the power switch, and obviously we've got a short. So the next step is to find out where the short is. I found after working on these things, you never want to assume anything, because you know what assume stands for. Makes an ass of you and me. Anyway, this power connector here, I just wanted to make sure it's wired correctly, which should be the AC line connected to pin 2 and 4 and a jumper between 1 and 8. And it is wired correctly. I can't imagine anyone would put 120 volts into the 12 volt input or vice versa, but you never know what you'll find. So now that I know that's okay, I can move on to the power supply. I'm going to begin by removing Rectifier C and Rectifier A, the low voltage and high voltage rectifier boards. I'll remove those and see if the short is removed. Oh boy, Elna capacitors. Wow, I think I see some of the problem already. So that's next. I've removed these two rectifier boards. This is rectifier board A, the low voltage supply, and this is board C, high voltage supply. Looks like that's that glue that becomes conductive or bad. I don't see any bulging on the caps, but that doesn't mean anything. And of course, here's the compartment that holds those two boards. I'm going to hit it with 120 volts again with those boards removed and see if the short's gone. Of course, limiting the current with a dim bulb, we'll see what happens next. The unit's plugged in. I've got the dim bulb hooked up, and let's see what we get. Okay, that's good. Plus the light comes on. Obviously the short is on one of those two boards I removed. Looks like we got a light out here which will be replaced anyway. I don't see any indication on the digital display, but that's okay. We're running at low voltage and that might be a secondary problem. Anyway, now it's time to troubleshoot those two rectifier boards. This doesn't look too good here. Here's a 1K resistor, quarter watt, connected from this point, and it looks like it should have gone to this point. Yeah, it looks like it was soldered here and then broken loose, plus someone must have opened that. And that resistor is across R1806 for some reason. It looks too small to be a bleeder. This is a Rectifier A board. Okay, let's start with DO1 and DO2. Anyway. That one's good. That one's good. That one looks good. I think there's one more here. Six-tenths of a volt. That looks good. Doesn't appear to be a direct short across these caps. If I don't drop it. And let's check these caps. Ooh, looks a little burnt there. Ooh, 0.2 ohms. Probably should replace all of these caps. Looks like a direct short across this cap here. Which one is it? I'll have to look and see. That doesn't look good. I'll replace all of these. 22 microfarad, 250 volts. I should move the cap and see if that short goes away. I'll do that. I'll be back. Well, here's that cap out of the circuit. And let's see what we get when we measure. If I can measure it. What do you know? 0.2 ohms. That's obviously no good. Bad capacitor. No kidding. Let's see who makes it. Oh, Nippon Chemicon. I'll be darned. I'm going to make sure none of these are shorted. And then I'll replace the bad one. And we'll see if we still have our short. I'm still going to check this board here. Board C. I replaced that bad cap on Rectifier A board, a 22 microfarad at 250. I'll eventually replace all of the caps here, but I just want to see if I can get this thing working. So with that cap replaced, the dim bulb is acting like I want it. Ooh, our display is blinking too, so that's a good sign. So I'm going to put this other board in, see what happens with the dim bulb, the Rectifier C board. These caps, I don't measure any shorts and the diodes look good, so I'm going to plug that in and see what happens next. Okay, Rectifier C's in. Let's see if we still get a short. No, we don't. I'm going to leave this on the dim bulb for a little while and let those caps maybe reform. And I'm going to come back in about a half an hour, 20 minutes, and we'll see if we can go straight through without any problems here. So that's next. Well, I didn't get it on video, but you missed the smoke. Yeah, these other caps gave up the ghost, so I replaced those 4 caps. So I'm going to put it back in. I had it running up on about 120 volts. Okay, I put it on a variac, running a little less than half an amp. Before that cap bit the dust, I was just under half an amp, about 600 milliamps. Anyway, it's still got some problems. VFO is real stiff. I'm going to have to pull the VFO. And the display, although it's lit, it's not changing. With the band change, it's changing, which is good. But I don't get any, well, I guess I get a little audio. I hear something. CHU Canada. Well, I think we have a long way to go, so time to dig in a little deeper, I guess. Well, I'm picking up something. The display is still going crazy. What I did is I pulled the rest of these boards out and reseated them. And that seemed to help a little bit. 20 meters. Pre-selector's peaking. Boy, this VFO is really stiff. Yeah, audio isn't that great. Boy, these pots really need cleaning bad.
Yes, sir, I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking. I really do appreciate you and y'all concerned about my general welfare. And I want to let you know that I am equally concerned about yours.
Well, we're making headway. Got a ways to go yet, so I'm going to have to pull this VFO out and deal with this display too that isn't acting right. I'm going to replace all the incandescent bulbs with LEDs. Something else I need to do. So, anyway, I guess we'll just keep plodding on. On the rectifier board A and C, I've replaced the capacitors here. these four are 47 at 250. Wanted to go a little higher voltage. The original ones were 47 at 250. I did have some better ones, 22 at 350. I've got 22 at 450 here. Got a lot of those. Buy in bulk if you're going to start rebuilding these power supplies here. Anyway, I used my last 47 at 250s here. And of course I replaced on rectifier board A, these four I replaced. The one actually popped. I can't remember which one it was. These were 22 at 250 and I replaced them with 22 at 450, so that should be better. These tested good. This one tested good, but I'm still going to replace them. I don't have any 10 microfarad at 250. I think I've got some 3300 at 225. I think I've got some of those too. So I'll put those back into the unit here and we'll see what we get. Deoxit is great stuff, but one thing you want to make sure is you don't just spray it all over the place and it's going to drip down and make a heck of a mess. What I do is I spray a little bit of it in a cup or a lid here, and then I use a paintbrush and then I just hit the contacts. You can see, get a little bit of it on the contact, and then as you rotate, this is the band switch here. This will distribute it to the stationary contacts. That way it doesn't run all over. Sometimes you can stuff a little paper underneath and spray them, but I found this works pretty good this way. You just add a little more, and a real fine brush will allow you to get it in there. Anyway, another little tip. This is the carrier unit out of the Yaesu FT901DM. There's a relay in here which can cause problems. What I need to do is remove this cap on it. Maybe. Where did it go? There it went. These contacts are notorious for causing intermittent problems here. Okay, the best way to clean that, if you can get a piece of paper soaked in a contact cleaner, in this case it's deoxit, and then pull it out. Look at the grunge that came out of there. Look at that. Contacts are filthy. Bottom ones are a little harder to get to. You have to get it between the... These contacts aren't very big. You have to get it between the... I don't know what you call the armature or whatever, and the contact on the bottom. There you can see I was able to work it with the tweezers here. And then I'm getting the bottom contact now, so I'll push down on the armature and then I'll pull this out. And hopefully I've cleaned all the junk out of there. I'm going to do this again. And we'll see if that makes any difference. All these relays should probably be cleaned. This rig's getting old. It's nice these screws are captive, otherwise you'd have a heck of a time getting it back in there. Anyway, that's cleaning the relay contacts on the carrier unit. I'm going to work on the VFO unit, which is here. I took out the display, which is here. I had to take the PLL unit out, which is here, and that's in a socket also. But anyway, now I can remove the VFO. There's 4 screws in the front panel here, and that will pull out. I've got a connector here and probably some grounds. I'll have to check. Anyway, I'm going to remove the VFO because that needs some servicing. It's all bound up, and we'll check that out next. Little tip: when you remove all of the knobs on the front panel, it's a good idea to put them in order as you take them out. Upper left, lower right. That way when you put them back you can get them in order. And also, when I took the plate and loading controls off, I put them in the fully meshed position. And when I took off the pre-selector knob, I put it with the slugs fully inserted in the cores on the 160 meter section. When you're taking the VFO unit out, remove a screw that holds this lamp in here, because that's this black and red wire permanently soldered up here. So you need to get that aside to pull it out. And also, if you look under here, there's a ground lead that has to be removed. Unfortunately, I'll have to get like a right angle screwdriver to get that thing out of there. And then, of course, the plug in the back of the unit here has to come out before you can remove it as a unit. To get that ground screw out of there, it's a little awkward. A tool like this really helps. It's a little ratchet Phillips. If you get something like that, it makes the job a little easier. Here's the VFO on the bench here. There's a gasket you might want to remove. And then loosen the screws. You got some little plastic screws here, and then this shield will slide off and expose the VFO here. Yeah, this thing is, I can't even turn this. I should be able to turn this with my finger. Just old grease. Another thing you want to do is check the contact between the rotor on the variable cap here where it makes the ground here. That's a common problem. I think while I have it open, I think I'll pull this board. It should take these 4 screws out. It should rotate up, and I'll just check the contacts on there. They've been known to cause problems also. These are really nice VFOs and the Yaesus here. So I'll work on that next. Well, this VFO, this grease is basically turned into glue. I could just barely turn it. So I dropped some WD-40 just to try to loosen it up. And here's a step you might not want to do. And if you do it, be really careful. Anyway, this is what I'm doing. I finally got it loose. I don't want to run against the sock, but every time I do this, it loosens up just a little bit. I'm working that WD-40 into the bearings. I don't want to take these gears apart because getting them back together, they're anti-backlash gears and they got little springs in that. It'd be really easy to get it screwed up, so I'm going to try this. If I can get it loose enough and then clean out most of that rotten grease that's in there, I'll try to put some light machine oil. I can see people cringing right now. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Well, it's the mechanism's freed up now. So don't laugh at the drill, it worked. Running pretty smooth. That grease in there was almost like glue. It was stuck. You couldn't even turn it. I used a real light machine oil, and that's what I'm going to use. Look at those beautiful gears. Oh man, don't make them like that anymore. Got to hand it to the Japanese. They make some good electronics. No surface mount in there, which I guess we got to get used to, don't we? Okay, the mechanism's back together. Nice and smooth. That's nice. And you can see the scales in there as they move. Of course, this one is adjustable so you can calibrate the subdial. If you take one of these apart, either take good pictures or copy this out of the manual. You have to get this in the right order. All of these pieces here need to be put in. And this diagram on page 3-61 in the service manual covers this, so you shouldn't have any trouble putting it back together. So I'm going to finish assembling this. I need to put the shield back on, and then actually this way, and then no, actually this way. There we go. Put the shield back on, and then we'll be ready to reinstall it.
Very good. I appreciate the 9. You're running a 5 and 8. 58 here into New Jersey. So we got some good propagation between Michigan and New Jersey apparently. So I appreciate the call, and hopefully we can work again down the lot. My personal call is Whiskey 2 United.
20 meters. Mid-afternoon. I got the VFO working. Still having trouble with the counter. I don't know what's wrong with it. Counter's not working. I'll have to pull the counter unit out.
Okay, very good.
Using the VFO feeds the counter here.
Pretty active, and we support a lot of the charities, and they're on the queue.
I'm going to keep this video short. I still have some more work to do on this thing, plus a complete alignment. Fix the counter, then get the transmitter working. If you work on one of these, be real careful. On these finals here, the 6146s, that's 1,000 volts. On each of those plates is 1,000 volts, a kilovolt, so be careful. That'll hurt you bad. Anyway, maybe I'll do a part 2 on this one once I get the counter and the transmitter up and running. So I hope you enjoyed it. That's it for this one. Bye for now. See you in the next one.